You know that feeling when you start to fall behind on a payment, maybe a credit card bill or a car loan? There's this quiet, nagging stress that can just build up, a feeling that something's just off. And if you've had that exact thought cross your mind, I really want you to hear this. It is not just you, not by a long shot. So let's get into it. In this explainer, we're going to calmly and clearly break down what is actually happening system-wide. No panic, no judgment, just some clarity. Okay, first things first, you gotta understand this isn't just a personal issue. It's happening on a huge scale. The New York Federal Reserve is projecting that by the end of 2025, total household debt in the US is going to hit $18.8 trillion. That's a mind-boggling number that affects the entire economy. And out of that massive number, nearly 5% of all that debt is already in some stage of delinquency. And what this really means is, if things feel tight for you, you're feeling a pressure that's rippling across the whole system, not just inside your own four walls. So here's what we're going to do. First, we'll walk through exactly what's causing this squeeze that so many people are feeling. And then, and this is the important part, we'll give you a simple, actionable plan you can literally use tonight to get some stability back. All right, let's talk about that feeling, that squeeze. It's not just in your head. It is a real reflection of some major system-level pressures that have been quietly building for a while now. Turns out there are really 5 big things happening under the surface, 5 hidden drivers putting all this pressure on our budgets. So let's break down how this whole thing builds one piece at a time. So driver number 1 is actually pretty simple. Debt balances just grew. Over the last few years, as prices for absolute essentials like groceries and gas and electricity went up, a lot of us had to lean on credit cards just to get through the month. And we're not talking about fancy vacations here. This was about covering the basics. And that brings us right to the second driver. For so many people, it's not that their income went down, it's that the margin disappeared. You know that little bit of breathing room, that financial cushion you used to have at the end of the month? Yeah, for a lot of us, it's gotten razor thin or it's just vanished completely. And this visual right here, it explains everything. On the left, see, a budget with a little bit of a surplus, it can handle a small shock like, say, a flat tire. No big deal. But on the right, without that margin, the exact same unexpected expense is what suddenly triggers a missed payment. There's just nowhere for it to go. The math just doesn't work anymore. And this brings us to a huge, huge misconception we need to clear up. The myth is that people miss payments because they're being reckless or irresponsible. The reality? Most of the time, it's just a cash flow problem, not a character flaw. And getting that is so important because it helps you focus on fixing the system instead of blaming yourself. Okay, driver number 3. This is a big one that a lot of people are feeling. Student loan payments fully re-entered the picture. For a few years, those payments were on pause for millions of people, but now they are back, creating one more giant, non-negotiable bill that has to be juggled every single month. And just to give you a sense of the scale here, it's just massive. We're talking about nearly 43 million Americans holding federal student loan debt. In total, that's over $1.6 trillion. So when a payment that big suddenly comes back online for millions of households all at once, yeah, it creates some serious new financial stress. All right, driver number 4, our financial safety nets are frayed or just gone. Through all the economic weirdness of the last few years, a lot of people understandably had to burn through their emergency savings just to stay afloat. And once that buffer is gone, every little thing, a surprise doctor's bill, the dishwasher breaking, it becomes a potential crisis that can easily push you into a late payment. And you might think this is just a younger person's problem, but driver number 5 shows that's absolutely not the case. Older Americans are feeling the squeeze intensely too. We're actually seeing this trend of people unretiring. Yep, going back to work after they retired, and even taking hardship withdrawals from their retirement funds just to manage day-to-day costs. And the numbers here really tell the story. An AARP report found that 7% of retirees actually went back into the workforce because of the cost of living. And data from Vanguard showed that 6% of their customers, that's a lot, had to take a hardship withdrawal from their 401k in 2025. These are serious warning signs of major financial strain. Okay, so those are the 5 big pressures squeezing everyone. But what happens after that first missed payment? It's really important to understand this part because things can start to snowball really, really fast. Well, mechanically, it's pretty straightforward and not in a good way. First, you get hit with a late fee. Then, sometimes that triggers a penalty interest rate, which makes your debt grow even faster. And of course, if it keeps happening, it starts to ding your credit history. But beyond the numbers, there's this psychological trap that's so easy to fall into. It's the stress loop. When you feel behind, it's natural to want to just avoid it. You stop opening the mail. But that avoidance, of course, just creates more stress, which, you guessed it, leads to more avoidance. It is a vicious, vicious cycle. Okay, I know that's a lot. So seriously, just take a breath for a second. If you're feeling any of this, that is a totally normal human reaction. The most important thing to remember is you don't have to climb the entire mountain right now. You just have to focus on taking the very next step. All right, you with me? Let's talk about that next step. If things feel chaotic, here is a simple 3-step reset plan you can use. The goal here is not to fix everything overnight. It's just to stabilize the ship and get back a little bit of that feeling of control. Here's the plan. It's just 3 steps. First, protect the essentials. That means rent or mortgage, food, utilities, and gas to get to work. These are the things that keep your household running. Second, list your minimums and due dates. Seriously, just grab a piece of paper and write down every single bill, its minimum payment, and when it's due. That alone quiets so much of the noise in your head. And third, just make one phone call. Pick whichever bill is stressing you out the most, call the number, and simply ask, "Hi, I'm calling to see what my options are." You're not committing to anything, you're just gathering information. And look, I really want to leave you with this one idea. Financial stress does not mean you are a failure. It almost always means that the economic system around you changed way faster than your plan could keep up with. And you know what the good news is? Plans can always be changed, one calm step at a time. And on that note, I'm genuinely curious. If you feel comfortable sharing down in the comments, which payment got harder for you to keep up with this year? Was it the credit cards, the student loans, the car payment? By sharing, you might just help somebody else realize they're not going through this all by themselves. And sometimes that's the most powerful first step there is.